My cocky brother made my wife cry and insulted her, so I kicked him out of my wedding. My parents told me I was overreacting to a joke, and they said my wife was being emotional and taking his side, so I sent them this post. So that my brother will forgive me for making him feel bad. He wants me to say sorry, while his mother continues to take care of him. I laughed out loud. This is getting out of hand, and I don't want my family to find out about it. I just got married last weekend, and I still can't believe it myself. The person I'm going to marry has been dead for 7 years. We've been through everything together, moving, losing our jobs, her worry problems, and so on. So, it was time for us to finally celebrate all of it on the day of our wedding. Is that right? At least until my brother chose to mess it up. To give you some history, my brother 30M has always had a strange love for playing practical jokes on people. As much as he calls them jokes, they've always been hurtful and embarrassing. He used to tell me I was being too emotional when I was younger, and I would either laugh it off or get mad. This time it went too far. He got up and spoke at our welcome party. I thought it would be nice if he said something real for once. But no, instead he shows a fucking slideshow of funny old photos of my wife from her Instagram account, in which she is crying, looking weak, or just looking really bad in general. When we were first dating, he would joke about how her weight had changed, saying she used to look like a twig but now she is better fed. The color of my wife's face changed. A soft cry came from her, and my brother joined in. He kept laughing as if he were the funniest person in the world. There was no sound in the room at all. I got very angry. During his rant, I got up, walked up to him, and told him to leave. It didn't matter if he was my brother or not. I told him he was done. My wife felt bad about herself. He tried to brush it off by saying that everyone else found it funny and I was ruining the fun. No one laughed. Not a single person. He wouldn't leave at first, so I told security to take him away. He quickly left after calling me a drama queen. The first. My parents are mad at me because I made fun of my brother at my own wedding. They think I was too angry, and since he didn't mean to, I should have forgiven him. My mom even said that my wife was also making things up, and that it was all because he was funny. Her tears haven't stopped since then. I told my family that we were going on vacation. I'm getting calls from my parents all the time though, saying that I ruined my own wedding and broke up the family over a joke. I know I did something wrong, but I just couldn't stand to see my wife in such pain. Ada, did I go too far? Comments dry _ sandwich _ 860. Your parents are to blame for your brother's problems right now. Other people at the wedding didn't seem to like your brother, so you should let them know that he has turned you off by not teaching him how to behave properly when he was a child who got into trouble. They have also put him in a bad light by giving him reasons to do what he did. Your parents still bother you about the fact that they support your brother, who ruined your wedding. It should teach you everything you need to know. The pity pose. NTA, your brother, not you, broke up the family. To be honest, go LC or NC with them. You now have your own family. Pay attention to that. Changes. Hi everyone, I just wrote here about what happened at my wedding. I wanted to thank you for all of your comments and support. Even though it's been a rough week, I wanted to let everyone know what's been going on. I kept my promise and told my family that we were taking a vacation after I kicked my brother out of the house. My wife and I decided to keep my brother from doing anything. Spend the week with each other and try to find some of the happiness that was taken away on our special day. We tried to forget about the trouble for a while on a short vacation in a cabin we had rented. But as soon as we got back, my parents showed up out of the blue. Their only goal was to talk things out, they said. But as soon as they sat down, it was clear that they were there to keep my brother safe. They told me I was being too sensitive and that he was just trying to be funny. My mom even said, "You know your brother. He didn't mean to hurt anyone, he hurt my wife, whether he meant to or not," and I told them about it. I also can't just ignore it. Then my dad told me family is. You don't ignore blood. And I went crazy. I told them that my wife and I have decided to start a family and that they would not be able to join us if they couldn't respect her. They got angry and left, saying that I was manipulating them and that my wife was being too emotional. The next day, my brother tried to get in touch with me again through a cousin we both had. He said he wasn't trying to hurt anyone and would forgive me if I told him I was sorry for making him look stupid in front of everyone. I was shocked beyond belief. At that very moment, I knew he still doesn't understand how wrong what he did was. I still haven't answered, and I have no plans to. Not because I want to fight with you, but because I want to. Couples treatment has started for my wife and me to make sure she feels encouraged and knows I'm on her side. I think it's helped me see how bad my brother's behavior has always been, and I think it's helped her deal with what happened. We've decided to have a small, private promise renewal with only a few close friends the following year to get back to what that day was meant to be for us. At the moment, we're focusing on our shared future and leaving out anyone who doesn't care about our relationship. If their jokes about my brother are more important to them than my wife's happiness, I'm okay with that. But I might have broken up my family. Thank you again to everyone who got in touch. You have no idea how much that meant to me. Reliable comments draw attention to neighbors. As we said in your first piece, NTA, screw your family. You and your partner deserve to be happy. Yup. Pilot_3055 was upset. Plan to have a good life with your partner. In order to do that, you need to stop being close to your parents and brother. All of them have no morals. Changes. Good morning, everyone. I'm back with another update, and I have to say that I'm still amazed at how much support this article has gotten. My wife and I have read a lot of notes during this hard time, and they have really helped us feel better. Thank you all so much. So my parents can see how bad my brother was being. Many of you told me to share this story with them. If I may use a polite term, the reaction was mixed when I did that. After giving them the link, I told them to read the post and comments. I hoped that people would realize that almost no one is supporting my brother's actions, but I didn't think they would change their minds right away. My dad hasn't talked much since then, but my mom has said more that people are too quick to judge and that the internet doesn't know our family. With jokes like that, she even tried to say, "The commentators don't get that, my brother." Of course, we're still not in agreement. I told her that the damage my brother did to my wife was the real problem, not why he did it. If she can't understand, we need to spend more time apart. I now understand why I didn't punch my brother in the face like many of you told me to. Trust me, I thought that in the middle of the moment. But to be honest, I knew that a physical response would have taken away from how my wife felt, which was what really mattered. It was hard for me to keep my cool. I didn't want to make my brother happy by making it look like I was the bad guy in front of everyone. I also didn't want to make a bad situation even worse by taking it to a higher level. I should have been there for my wife instead of getting angry. In the end, kicking him out was the right thing to do. I decided to protect my wife so that she could keep her honor in our marriage. Even though my family might not agree, my wife has been a huge help, and we're both focused on moving forward together. I want to thank everyone again for their nice comments, thoughts, and ideas. During this very hard time, they have been our support. Sad comments that boost confidence 19563. Your mom's defense of your brother's bad behavior only showed what a jerk she was as a child. You might want to say that both of your parents felt ashamed by what he did. His actions showed your family and the rest of the world that hitting a woman on her wedding day was not only okay, but also right. In that case, they are SHT parents. Congratulations, Op. I get your point. And it's hard to forget that my parents have put up with my brother's behavior for a long time. That's not as important as the joke itself. They are making excuses for his behavior on such an important day, which says a lot. I hope this wakes them up, but I'm not here to do it. Be critical of them. My wife is the most important thing to me, and I won't let anyone, not even my family, treat her badly. These people need to understand that choices have effects. No matter how funny someone finds them. Fox thinks of Fox as the old Steo. Visit your parents, go to the ground and pee. That's just how I am. I know that this is a bad thing to do. Okay, but since you're my parents, you should let me do anything horrible I want. Beef. Every time you come, do it. You can do this instead of any other crazy and interesting thing. If that's what we do every time, I might just bring a megaphone and make the announcement that way next time. I'm not being rude. I just find funny, strange things. That explanation will be helpful to them, I'm sure. That's right. From then on, we'll see how many family get-togethers invite me to. Changes. First and foremost, I want to say thank you again for the wonderful. Thanks for your help and kind words. Many thanks to those who have taken the time to leave notes, give advice, and show sympathy. My wife and I really appreciate it. It's been a huge relief to know that we're not the only ones who feel this way. What do you think the family said? All right, let's begin. Mom. She saw the post, but the comments didn't instantly make her change her mind. She kept trying to make it seem like a light-hearted joke, and she stuck to her belief that my brother's actions were meant to be mean. But she seemed to think twice when she saw how many people were criticizing him for being rude and uncaring. At the end, she admitted that she now gets why my wife was so upset, even though she didn't like how I handled it. It looks like she's made some growth, even if she hasn't hit her full potential yet. She also said she could say sorry to my wife, which is nice. My dad didn't say as much about it. He didn't say anything when I showed him the post, but he did agree that my brother might have gone too far this time. He's still mad at me for being a bother at the wedding, but he seems to understand a little better now why I had to help my wife. I think he is starting to understand that this wasn't just a joke that everyone laughed off, even though he is still upset about how things turned out. Family member. But when I showed my brother the post, he fixed his mind even more. What he said. As you might expect, some people on the internet find humor insulting. He said, people are just too sensitive these days, ignoring the whole thing. He didn't seem to care that people told him how evil what he did was. He was so rude as to say that by putting the story online, I overreacted to gain power. It's clear that my brother is still confused. I really don't think he ever will, even though it hurts to say. I think this situation might make us less close, which is probably best for now. Here we are. My wife and I are taking some time to relax now that everything is over. We have rules, especially when it comes to my brother. We're working through it, and I'm more sure than ever that standing up for her was the right thing to do. No matter what other people say. This whole thing has taught me who really has our backs. Thank you again, Reddit. It's been a crazy ride. All of you have made things a little better. What the wife said. As a wife, I wanted to say thank you. Hi everyone, reading all the love means so much to me. And comments from this group behind closed doors. A lot of people have told me they understand how painful and embarrassing it was for me on what should have been the best day of our lives. It was hard for me to feel ashamed because I thought I was exaggerated. Your words, on the other hand, reminded me that I have every right to protect myself. I appreciated a lot that my husband did that. There have been a lot of different feelings I've had since the wedding, but it's been so helpful to know that there are other people who feel the same way about fairness and respecting other people's feelings. Thank you so much to everyone who took the time to leave a comment, offer advice, or just show their support. You have made a real difference in our growth. Thoughts? Storm's Way makes this point. I am glad to see this new information. I'm still mad at your family. It looks so clear. That's supposed to happen one day. The wedding is a party for the pair getting married. Get ready for it. There is no way that someone could ruin the most remembered part of the wedding, since you planned a lot of SHT. Since your brother is completely illogical and can't care about other people, I think it's clear that your parents are used to making excuses for him. So letting him do what he wants is the only way to keep the family together and avoid fighting, right now and always. To keep the peace, you have to make the illogical and self-centered person happy. Papi, you are completely right. It makes me sad to think that my parents have been helping my brother for years, probably to keep the peace, as you said. But that peace and quiet comes at the cost of health of everyone else. He broke a rule at our wedding that he should never have broken, but it's one thing to overlook small offenses. It was supposed to be a celebration of love, but his selfish actions turned it into a fight. I've come to realize that keeping the peace in my family is really a code for letting the most difficult person do whatever they want without getting in trouble. You're right. That's just avoiding things, it's not real peace. My wife and I both deserve better, so we're setting limits to make sure this doesn't go on. I appreciate you noticing that and making it so clear. The second tale. Because my parents thought they were better than me and hurt me for years, I went full NC. The last straw for me was when my dad said I had sparked his anger and scolded me with his priest after one of his workers cut me. It's good to be far away from my parents now that I know how bad they were. I'm going to talk about one of my mom's slaps. I know I wasn't a perfect kid, but I also don't think I was the worst. It was the worst thing I ever did to play games on my dad's work computer after breaking in. There were no crimes, drugs, smuggling, or drinking. It looks like they weren't happy with it though. In this case, I was about 15 years old. When I got home from work, my mother was yelling. What did I do with my phone's batteries? Background. The phones at work are powered by rechargeable batteries. I have never taken the batteries out, and I don't plan to. When I tell her I didn't do it, she hits me and brings up the same points I made here. My dad later told her that he did take the batteries out. How did my mom react? I am sorry. Not a real sorrow. No comfort. Nothing. At that age, a big handprint was all over my face. My dad once scolded me for calling a radio station on my emergency phone. I had the number. Information just to be able to get in touch. When I was 14, I didn't have any friends. It looks like my phone called it by accident. I tell him the truth. I never called that, so it must have been a mistake. That's for lying, he says, and then he hits me. Please hit me in the face. I yelled out in anger. This is why I don't talk to you. A huge mistake. Turned around to attack me. I quickly grabbed a wooden chessboard from my room, put it over my face and ran back into the closet to get my clothes. The only thing he could do was hit the board and break it in half. Because of the clothes, he missed the rest of his hits. He yelled, "Don't talk to me that way again." I finally got help for my mental health through therapy when I was 29 years old and was told I had serious ADHD, as that was one of the last straws in our relationship. I decided to tell my parents after getting help and treatment in the hopes that they would take responsibility for my situation, forgive me, and our relationship would be fixed. Oh, we already knew, they said. But they didn't want to spend money on you because they thought you would leave. I was shocked by it. After that, I told them to check on my sisters to make sure they were also okay. They are perfect, they said. You were the only one in this house, the one who has mental health problems. It hurt me a lot. Getting in touch with me very little or not at all. I will write more stories about it, but these are the ones that really wow me out of everything they've done. Changes. This is part 2. The stories in this post aren't as bad as the ones in the last one, but they're still bad enough for me to remember them. I'm 29 years old. It's become clear to me that my parents were or are selfish now that I'm old enough to go to therapy with my friends for my ADHD. They hit me with magic wands and belts. As I've grown up, I've learned that hitting a child as a way to control them is wrong. I thought for a long time that I deserved the punishment. But all I did in response was talk back, act lustfully, or use my tools too much. Do you know what teens go through during puberty? Never drank booze, did drugs, broke the law, snuck out, or damaged anything. But they hit me with clubs and whips. Also, the sticks you need to put your tool holes in are not made of wood but plastic. They called it the magic wand and said they would hit me with it if I didn't behave. I get a little PTSD from freaking out every time I hear a belt clank, because it's so bad. They would never be interested in what I do. I think what my therapist called it was child abuse. I make art. I like getting paint and video games. It wouldn't bother them at all. When I showed them my pictures as a kid, they would say, "I don't like it, why do you waste time on it? It won't feed your family. You draw this scary monster, but why?" Drawing animals that are a mix of wolves and dragons, by the way. When I went up to them, I asked, "Why can't you at least be a little interested in my things, what they did? Since I don't act like a liar, things like this worry us. Why should we act like we like it? Even when I tried to like their cars, sports, and food, I was just trying to get their attention or win their approval. Even after I made money from the art I made in streams, they would laugh and say, 'Good luck feeding your family with that, because you are too young. You won't be able to find a spouse.' I didn't want to have kids. Then don't get married. No woman will want to be with you if you think that way." I found a joke about them. "You're so lazy that drawing or playing video games can't help you keep a job. Really a waste of time. You'll never grow up. Because of this, you'll never get married or make friends." When my friend and I decided to go to Texas together, that was one of the things they did that made me laugh. They told me, they don't want to help you to try to stop me from going. They want to use you for their own gain. They probably want something from you. No one would help you if you didn't have anything. And my favorite. After taking your innards, they'll leave you in an ice tub. This person is still a friend of mine. She also never asked for anything in return. She is one of my best friends. In later blog posts, I'll keep sharing more stories about things they did that I will always remember. Changes. But I'll be back to talk about more of what they did. This is a very important one. People who hate the R word should be warned that I'm a man. Between the ages of 13 and 16, a 30-year-old guy wrapped his arms around me. I try to forget most things, which is why I can't remember what time it is. I'm 29 years old now. I'm fine now that I've been to treatment. My father blamed me, saying that I was old enough to know what I was doing was wrong and that I had probably made him angry. He didn't send me to therapy or jail the person who wrapped me up. Then tells one of the priests what happened, whereupon he finally scolded me for letting things get this bad. There was no calling the cops, help, sympathy, or treatment. I guess he at least fired the worker. There are many reasons why I became half agnostic, and this is one of them. I never told my parents about it, about your own things. They found out that I was acting badly in my room by myself when I was 16 years old. A normal parent would have talked to me and given me tips on how to deal with my feelings, but they broke my phone and beat me, as well as telling a priest to punish me again for my bad behavior. As soon as the PS3 came out, I bought it. I was glad to finally have my own machine. Oh, I was so stupid. My dad took it off and hooked it up to his TV so that he could watch Blu-ray movies on it. I let him know. That was my PS3. That's what I paid for. He said that this was his house and that the PlayStation belonged to him because I live in their house. I told him what happened and tried to talk him down. It could be used for films, as long as he lets me play it whenever I want. I'm amused, he said. I don't have anything to say about this, that he will let me play when he says so. Even though I did play with the PlayStation, it shows how spoiled and cocky they are. When I have more time, I'll keep adding more stories about them. It's helpful for me to let out my anger this way. Changes. I'm back with one last post about what happened in January of last year with my spoiled parents. And it's likely that the last post is because I decided to stop talking to you. That's the reason. Because of this, I chose to go back to my city in January of last year to show my wife my house, the food, my family other than my parents, and the scenery. I wanted to see my granny and the rest of my mom's family. May God bless her. I wanted to give my parents a chance to make things better in their lives. So, I called my parents a month ahead of time to let them know that we would be visiting in a week. They gave a lot of reasons, most of which were religious, instead of telling me they were happy for me and making plans, saying that they have too many religious duties to just leave and join me. I replied with disappointment. My wife and I are only going to stay with you for a week. It's been more than 2 years since we last saw each other, and your religious views keep you from making time to spend with us. After going to a restaurant, they reluctantly made time to see my old house. I will always remember these things. Using a lot of reasons not to see my wife or even myself. When I got to their house, my sweet puppy Melody was being abused. She was very skinny and had knots all over her body. Even though she was very old, it hurt my heart that she was so happy to see me crying and crying. I didn't want to start a fight in front of my wife, and my parents told me I couldn't bring her with me. In such a country, reporting animal abuse is useless. As we sat down to catch up, they started criticizing and telling me what to do again. They said things like, "You're at different stages of life. Now that you're married, you should think about having kids." I fought back right away. The past of my family ends with my vasectomy. Well, I guess you skip that stage, you'll never grow up, they stated. I felt uneasy because my wife doesn't speak Spanish and most of the conversations were in Spanish. My wife saw that I was upset and tried to calm me down before I could snap out at them. They kept saying, "I'll never grow up," and they were upset about the things I liked, like Legos and video games. I went to see my grandparents, uncles and aunts on my mom's side the next day after I left. I learned a terrible truth at that time, a point that made me more aware than ever before of abuse and feeling like I had the right to something. I love the people on my mom's side of the family. Their actions show that they care about others. Along the way, I said, "I wish I could have seen you more often when I was younger. We wish that too," they said with a frown. But we were not able to. I asked them to explain. My extended family would always love me and give me gifts to celebrate my successes. But my parents were jealous because they didn't have the time or money to treat me, so they threatened to divorce me if they did. This scared them into having very little contact with me because they didn't want to lose me. My parents lied when they said things like, "We don't have time" or "They are busy." They were always ready to go on a visit. For example, on my mom's side, they scared my grandfather and told him he should never talk to me about my future or chances. It was made clear that I was a bother and not wanted with my parents, but they refused to accept help, as that would show they aren't able to or don't care about me. Since they played computer games to avoid me, I don't bother them. Then it hit me. For some reason, my parents were too busy with work or church duties to give me their full attention. All of that made me cry, and afterward, my family and I held each other. I sent my friends and family after my stay to let them know where I was on the plane, and when I got on, took off, landed, and got home. My extended family usually said something like, "Thank you for telling us, fly safe, let us know when you get there," or "Bless you." It was great to see you. But that was the last straw because my parents never answered anything else. I have decided to stop talking to my parents at all points. When I tried to touch them, they showed, and I'm sick of it. Thanks to all the people who have read this far and for their love and support. It's been good for me to keep my head up and live a happy life. All of you are subject to the same rules. Don't put up with crap from arrogant people, no matter who they are. You're important. Do not lose your. Raise your hand or ask for help. Things will get better. Thoughts. SS3. If becoming an adult means acting like them, I hope you will see their criticism as a praise they meant to give you without meaning to. And I hope you'll spend time with your extended family as often as you can to strengthen those ties. Don't even bother telling your parents that you're going on vacation, and tell your other cousins not to either. You wouldn't believe how well my old Lego bucket worked to make one of the sets my aunt gave me when I went to visit my parents. That was expensive, and she cried tears of joy when I showed her I still had it, and a personalized tail I had when I was 2. I'll value those more than gold. I hope I can sneak back to see them in January without telling my parents. Thank you for watching the movie. If you'd like to hear more stories, we have them ready. Please click the like button, follow our station, and tell your friends about it.